Gonna say on the plate this morning, most of the basil flower had been eaten, and the little bee um, had disappeared, and I don't think it flew away. I think literally these there were tracks on the table. That's one of them that led me to believe that a possum might have come down, because that definitely looks like a paw print there, and there was another one there this morning. You can only just see it now, but this morning it seemed pretty. Because it had a little track here, I deduced that maybe a possum came down to eat what was ever left on that plate, and I was like, I think that could have been what happened to the bee. I was gonna, chuck it on the garden today because it looked like it had had enough by last night. It didn't sit. It wasn't moving anymore after a while, and I think generally animals they just put themselves in a coma or pretend to be dead or something until something eats them. So if it was eaten by a possum, at least it would be digested pretty quickly, I guess. Whereas ants just tear apart everything um, uh, that little insect or whatever is made out of. And so, once again, I mean, it's a pretty torturous end. But I didn't seem to have saved it from anything, despite having had saved it from the spider. So, I literally kind of feel like, I don't know. I think the problem with the bee was that one of its legs had accidentally been missing after it had started to tangle itself in the spider web. So when I was sort of taking out the spider web, one of its legs had detached by then. So obviously, it probably wasn't feeling very good, and it could have authentically died. They don't really bleed, so it's hard to actually tell what on earth is going on a little creature's mind. But I didn't leave it for the ants, so I saved it from the spider a little. I was like, the poor bee just wasn't supposed to. It just wasn't supposed to survive or something. Because in the end, I believe that it was most likely eaten by a possum. So, it got over it got past the spider. It got past the falling on the ground and being eaten by ants. But then in the end, it's like a possum got it, and you're like, the poor little bee. Hey guys, just checking you out. Just seeing that everything's cool. You still got food on your plate. No snakes. Yeah, I'm just about to go inside and do some work. It's like 3:30. It took forever for the computer to open. You guys are all excited, aren't you? They actually know I'm thinking of letting them out in the yard, and they're all excited. Every day they're like, "Oh, are you gonna let us out in the yard?" So they want to be out in the open, but it's kind of unsafe because we've had lots of snakes come around, and they'll probably find one. That's why I'm not dead set on letting them out in the yard. But it might be a bit of a good breather for them, especially so I might do some work, and if I feel like letting them out in the yard, I could. I'm not that keen on it though, because they go all over the place. They don't just stick to the house, and they'll probably forage amongst the bushes. Bushes like that over there has probably got a snake underneath. And I don't want them to be attacked by a snake. So I'm like, I know they could be allowed out, but I don't really feel like letting them out, really. Because that will mean it'll mean a bad thing. And it's kind of windy too, so if a branch falls down and they're underneath it, they'll be squished. So I don't know. I haven't let them out yet. I'm just checking to see if they're okay. I do that a few times a day. They're just usually left to their own devices. But I do that at least a few times a day just to check that they're okay. They're kind of bored. They're bored of their little yard. Their yard needs recuperating. That's why they're bored of their yard. They're spending more time in the coop. And the coop's starting to be like, oh, do they really want to spend time in there? So we're about due to let them out in the yard instead of leaving them in their little yard, because their yard needs to be recovered. The grass needs to grow. Things need to be grown. So that they can come back and be like, yes, we've got a flourishing yard again. I should order some more chicken seeds and be like, here are some chicken seeds for you. Because they have special salad mixes that can grow. And if you leave them for 2 weeks, to not go ban them from that yard for 2 weeks, you can grow a lot of greens in 2 weeks with their little mixes. So, alright, I'll keep these on. So I'm just about to start work. It's taken 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Oh, it's 3:44. I turned the computer on at 3. I had to restart it because it didn't feel like working, and now I'm just about to go start work. So it's 3:44. I really should just do a 9 a.m. start time and then do it until 12 and then have the rest of the day free. That makes sense to me. Instead of doing it at 3, you only feel like doing it until 4. But it's been such a lazy day for me. Like, the weather's perfect. It's cool wind and hot sun. And very breezy. It's like such a lovely day.